right at
Right.
that brink of that divorce, this is where you really got to hone into what does my child need? Because they're wanting reassurance. Like, what the fuck is happening?
Ugly
to my
Truth of Divorce podcast with Sam and Leah, helping you not just survive, but thrive.
Hello, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of The Ugly Truth of Divorce. We are your hosts, Sam and Leah, and this podcast is brought to you by TNC, The Next Chapter, our monthly membership where we give a training every single Monday, and there's group coaching inside. We gave a training on love language inside of TNC, again, our monthly membership group. We gave a training on love language, and it's one of my favorite things to talk about because I think it's a missed boat when people are going through a divorce. I think it's something they don't fully pay attention to with their kids. And I think they think they're hitting the mark with their kids. But what they need to understand is they're probably not, especially if you're treating all of your kids somewhat the same. And the other half of that is what you're probably not understanding about your ex's household and your kids and their love language at that house. So we're going to dive in and tell you a little bit about love languages and divorce. Leah Marie's going to kind of lead us, and I'm going to share some personal little tidbits as we go. But let us know in the comments of wherever you're watching this, do you know your children's love language? Do you even know what love language is?
Yeah. And so for those of you who don't, this is a concept developed by Dr. Gary Chapman. He has a book called The 5 Love Languages. So they just represent different ways that people give and receive love.
Yeah.
So understanding these can greatly improve communication and connection in relationships, especially with your kids.
Right.
So the 5 love languages are words of affirmation. So that's like verbal compliments, encouragement, positive reinforcement, acts of service, so doing helpful or thoughtful things for other people, receiving gifts, some kind of like thoughtful token to show someone that you're thinking of them, quality time, so that's like focused, undistracted time spent together. And then physical touch is the 5th one, obviously.
Right.
Physical affection, hugs, cuddling, holding hands, shit like that. So for moms, especially during divorce or co-parenting with like a high conflict person, understanding your kid's love language is crucial for building a strong, nurturing connection with your kids. And so here's some reasons why this is important for you to know. The first one is it's that rebuilding trust and connection.
Yeah.
Kids feel insecure. They feel unsure about where they stand oftentimes after divorce, right? So speaking their love language helps reassure them that they're unconditionally loved and supported, right? It strengthens your bond and provides emotional safety.
Right.
The second,
go ahead.
ahead.
Let me talk about that one. I think what a lot of you that are going through divorce, you have to realize is the kid is used to the dynamic right before divorce. So the kid is used to maybe listening to arguments, fighting, conflict, and already at their breakup phase. This kid was already feeling, holy shit, what is happening to my life? Like, nobody's paying attention to me. They're arguing. They're talking on the phone a lot. They're not together. They're
Mom looks stressed,
separated.
she's crying a lot. I have to move. Yeah.
Right. And so then now we're divorced and we're split up. And now this kid is still like, man, mom seems distracted. Dad seems obsessed with, my mom. And nobody's really giving me what I need, and I was guilty of this for years. Like, I really just thought my kids are fine. Like, they're well behaved, they're healthy, they have everything they need. Like, you're fine, go play. I paid no attention to love language. I thought I was doing what I needed to do by providing for them, and that was enough. I said, I love you. I thought that was enough. And I wasn't specializing my love to each individual child because I was distracted with all the bullshit of the divorce and co-parenting journey. So I think you really got to, just because you're servicing your kid doesn't mean you're loving your kid the way they need to be loved. And right at that brink of that divorce, this is where you really got to hone into what does my child need? Because they're wanting reassurance. Like, what the fuck is happening to my life? Like, now I have 2 homes. Now I have 2 schedules. Now I have to figure out who I'm walking up to after a volleyball game. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Can someone think of me first, please? So this is where love language is just really critical for your kiddos.
Yeah. Second thing, fostering emotional security in high conflict situations.
Yeah.
Narcissistic co-parents often create chaos and emotional instability. So when you are speaking your kid's love language, it becomes a source of consistency and stability. It's like counterbalancing any emotional turmoil that the narcissistic parent might cause.
Right. I think for this one, the part that I thought was we got divorced and I took care of my kids and I took care of my job and I took care of my house and everything else. And I didn't talk bad about their dad. There was no need to. I was finally happy. We're split up. Like, this is what I wanted. I wanted to be away from him. So here we go. Here, let's start our lives. What I didn't anticipate was somebody like dragging me over the coals to my own children. I did not see that coming. And people can call me stupid, but I didn't see it coming. I thought there's no way in hell, if you love your kids, that you would do this to your children. And I was
Right.
wrong. I mean, I was
Right.
totally wrong. So what my kids were going through at the other house, I was blind to. I
Yeah.
totally didn't see it. So their love language wasn't getting met because he was too busy dogging my ass to them. I couldn't cross the street right. I couldn't spend money right. I couldn't date right. I couldn't parent right. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't drive right. So you have to really think about not just how you're caring for the kids at your house, but what are they going through? Ask yourself right now, does your ex have any of the tools in their parenting toolbox that
Yeah.
they need? I can tell you,
Yeah.
if I would have looked at my ex-husband, it would have been like, fuck, why did I even marry this person? They were never equipped with the things they needed to be successful, let alone without me, now that I'm not in that home. So
Mhm.
you got to recognize, don't be blind like I was and think that somebody can't stoop to that level, because oh man, they can, and never
Mhm.
stop and never stop.
Right. So what did I do? 1,
3.
2.
Yeah.
The third thing, reducing the impact of manipulation. Narcissists may attempt to manipulate your kids,
Mhm.
and they may do this by using gifts, guilt, all kinds of tactics that they like to use. So when you consistently speak your kids' love language, they're less likely to feel confused or swayed by those manipulations because their emotional needs are already being met by you.
Right. And so this one is that, Disney dad, right? We have
Yeah.
a lot of single moms in our membership that are like, "Hey, I can't financially compete. This
Right.
man is taking these kids to Disney. This guy is buying the iPads, he's buying the tennis shoes, he's buying all
Mhm.
these things. I can't compete with that." And here's what I'll say. My children of divorce for 18 years will tell you, we went to you for different things. We knew that he could only give us this type of love. This is it. This is all he was providing, was a gift here and there. It wasn't the quality time. It wasn't the words of affirmation. My ex-husband couldn't have said nice words to my children if his life depended on it, but he could buy them shit.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like you have to understand that you're not competing at
Yeah.
all. You are
Yeah.
giving what you're good at, and your kids will come to you for what you're good at, which is holding their hair when they puke and knowing how to make that washcloth the perfect temperature for their forehead, for you to know when they walk in the door that they need a snack, for you to hold their hand when they have their first breakup. That's what you're there for. They know, they deep down know there's no way in hell that their other parent, who is a narcissist or a high conflict person or somebody with a personality disorder, will ever be able to serve them the way they need to be served. So your kids, what? They go, okay, well, I know this parent is only capable of so much. So I'll depend on my other parent for everything. And that's when one of us becomes the dominant parent. It's not because we do better, it's because our kids know they get more out of us because we're willing to customize the love that they need. That other parent is incapable of that. But
Mhm.
the other parent will think, if I just buy you shit, you'll want to be here more. And there's kids that fall for that. They think the grass is greener. Oh, well, dad buys me shit, so I'm going to go live with him. Good luck, I say to that. Good luck. Let's see if that's the only thing you need is just gift giving. I don't think it is, but if that's what you think, good luck, kiddo. And then before long they get damaged and then they get hurt and then they come back and they realize true love was over here. It's more than just gifts.
Yeah. Fourth is strengthening communication. When kids feel seen and understood, communication improves. So
Yeah.
this is essential in situations where clear, honest, and open communication may be difficult due to the high conflict nature of co-parenting. And you want to be the safe place. You want your kids to be able to come home and feel like this is where I can be me. This is where I can relax. This is where I can put my guard down. This is where I can tell mom anything. And I know I'm not going to be judged. I know I'm not going to get in trouble, right? That you want to strengthen the communication and have those open lines of communication with your kids, especially if it's high conflict, because 99% of the time when they're over at that house, they don't feel comfortable. They don't feel like they can just be themselves and say what they want to say because they think that they're going to get in trouble.
Right. And the transition home, a lot of you talk, especially the people in our membership, which you can go to samandleah.com at any point in time and sign up for the next chapter. And you have to understand that when your kids come home, they need to transition. And part of that transition from high conflict house to your house is that they need their love tank refilled. And that's why it's so important that you have to know what each individual child needs so that you can service it. When your kid comes in and they're the gift giving kid, okay, what little thing did you buy them over the weekend? It doesn't have to be big and expensive. It can just be this little thing that your kid goes, oh my gosh, she thought of me this weekend when I wasn't even around. Acts of service, the room is spotless. My kids used to love that. I would redecorate their room or move shit around, change their bed on a different wall. So you take all the love languages and you figure out, what does my kid need when they walk in the door from that transition? Because they've been through hell for 3 or 4 days with your high conflict ex who has just bashed on you for those days. And they're coming home with guilt, shame, and anxiety about looking at you because they have listened to negativity about you. So you need to help with that transition. And a love language is one of the first steps in helping with that transition. So important.
Yeah. And so if you want to learn more, join the next chapter. Sam just did a huge workshop on Monday going into detail on how to do this, like how to implement these, how to even know what your kid's love language is, what happens when their love language changes. It's something that I didn't know anything about until I met you. And then, I had heard of love languages, but honestly, I thought it was more to do with romantic partnerships, right? Like how to have a healthy romantic partnership. I didn't even think of, oh, my kids have a love language too. They probably don't realize it. They don't know what it is, most likely, unless you're having that conversation with them.
Right.
But they have one. And so when you learn what that is, it does change the relationship, because there's been times where, and you've talked about this too, where like I would do something for my daughter because it was my love language, right? I would like, like I'm like an acts of service or like gifts. Like I like to kind of, spoil people, right? Like things like that. But that's not what she wanted.
Right.
Like, she appreciates it, but that's not her love language. Like she's more of like words of affirmation, quality time. So then I know, even though the way I show love, that might not be the way that she needs to receive love in order to feel loved.
Right.
And so once you get that down, it really changes the whole dynamic of the relationship you have with your kids.
Right. And I think what I was guilty of, and I don't know if you are or were, when I would do an act of service for my children, thinking, here's me giving you love. Look, I made your bed. I fed you. I hauled your ass around. I made your lunch for today. I organized your closet. And my kids wouldn't say thank you, which is words of affirmation is my love language.
Right.
So when they wouldn't say thank you, I'm taking it super fucking personal. And I'm like, these fuckers don't even love me. Like who doesn't love me? Look what I did for you. But it wasn't what they needed. They didn't need acts of service to feel love. There was no connection there that because mom did this, she loves me. No, my son literally said, isn't this your job? When he was little. As he got older, I would have knocked the shit out of him. But when he was little, he's like, isn't that your job, mom? Like, why do I have to say thank you? And I'm like, okay, like it's starting to make sense that you're not seeing it. But here I was, and this was when I was in my bad phase. I was seeking so much love from them to make myself be fulfilled. That thank you or that I love you from them, honestly, it had too much value. Until I figured out how to love myself, I was literally pulling from my kids all the time to show me love because I couldn't find it in myself. But as soon as I did find it for myself and I loved myself, I could have gave a shit whether they said thank you or not, because I didn't need them to feel and fill my love tank anymore. I was filling it myself. And part of the ways I went and did that is I built this business. Now I have complete strangers when I drop bombs and they're saying things like, oh my gosh, this is such good advice. Thank you. Thank you. I'm full. I'm full. Now I don't have to lean on my kids or Jared to fill that because I'm getting it by working and getting those thank yous. I'm doing it for myself, right? So I think you have to be honest with yourself when you're going through your divorce. Are you leaning on your kids too much for that validation of love? And I'm going to tell you, some of you are really pushing on those kids to fill your tank. And that's your job. Your job is to fill your own tank. And then eventually we teach our kids how to fill that tank. And those are all things that I covered inside of TNC, the next chapter. So hit that link below, hit it wherever you're listening, samandleah.com. It's SAMANDLEAH.com. For those of you that are listening that are driving, go there. Check it out. Become a member. Stay a member for 1 month. There is probably 10, 15 trainings already in there right now.
Yeah. Yep.
Tons.
We keep all the replays in there for you. So if you go to samandleah.com, you look up the next chapter, there's actually a list of all the workshops that we've already done that are sitting there waiting for you, where you can become a member, log in, go through all of the content, stay as long as you need, leave when you're ready.
Right. And for those of you that aren't a member and those of you that might be a man, you can always listen to this podcast, subscribe and listen to the Ugly Truth of Divorce podcast. And again, follow us on social media. Mindfully Ready, Leah Marie over there on all of her social media, Samantha Boss, the Ugly Truth of Divorce on all my social medias, because we give a lot of awesome free content as well. So you guys, this has been awesome. I hope you take a full advantage of joining TNC. I hope you go back and listen to this and figure out what are some things you need to work on as a parent so that you're hitting the mark on filling your own tank so that you have enough energy and love to give your children and fill their tank and figure out which love language is theirs. All right, everybody, until next episode.